Batman and Robin was released in 1997 and was once again directed by Joel Schumacher. It was the fourth and final installment of the Batman movies that were released throughout the mid-90s, and they definitely did not go out on a high note. This is not a good movie. So this superhero adventure follows Batman, now played by George Clooney for some reason, and Robin, attempting to foil the sinister plans of a deranged set of overpaid 90s actors. Like, for real, both of these villains in this movie received way bigger paychecks than both of the title characters combined. So let's just say this movie's a mess. As a kid, I remember being pretty fond of Batman and Robin, but definitely not as much as I like the other three. And the rest of the world, well, hates this movie. Like, it is pretty much universally agreed that this is the worst of the worst when it comes to superhero media. It's gone to the point to where when another superhero movie fails now, we call it the Batman and Robin of its franchise, which to me feels a little harsh, maybe. So today we're gonna find out. Today, I'm rewatching Batman and Robin for the first time in probably almost a decade. I don't even remember half of this movie. So we're gonna find out, was it really that bad? And if you do enjoy this video, then please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps out the channel so much and just shows that you guys are still enjoying the stuff I'm making. So yeah, let's get right into it. So Batman and Robin opens just like Batman Forever with giant names flying towards your face, but this time it's red and edgy for some reason. We then get the staple of the Joel Schumacher movies, which is the iconic suit-up scenes, this time with close-up butt shots for some reason.
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
This is why Superman works alone.
Cringe. Like, this is just bad dialogue. It's terrible. So we also get introduced to the new Batmobile, which I don't love the Batman Forever Batmobile, but please bring it back. This one is terrible. This is really, really bad. It looks like a bare bones version of the Batmobile from Batman Forever, and I just don't like it. And also, why is there only one seat? Like, this was made after he met Robin. What? So then Batman FaceTimes Commissioner Gordon, and he tells him about Mr. Freeze, who's robbing a museum or something. And then we get introduced to the man of the hour, who got paid 25 times the amount George Clooney got paid, Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I mean, the suit looks really cool. I do like it, and he's not terrible, you know, minus all the ice puns.
Everything freezes. You're not sending me to the cooler.
So then
The hockey team from hell.
shows up and start beating up Batman and Robin, but don't worry, they come prepared with ice skates built into their suits for some reason. Like, this is their first time facing Mr. Freeze. They've never faced him before.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
Like, who have they faced before this to make Batman think, yes, both me and my sidekick need ice skates built into our suits?
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
That's just incorrect. That is factually wrong. But alright, Iceman. So Mr. Freeze gets into his, like, tank thing that transforms into a literal rocket. Like, was his plan to go to space? Like, what's the end goal here? I thought he was just trying to steal a diamond. So Mr. Freeze leaves Batman and Robin to die on his rocket after he opens his Fortnite glider. But don't worry, Robin uses his laser pointer to free Batman, and Batman uses his
Bat bomb.
to destroy the rocket, and Batman and Robin surf their way back to Gotham. And the CGI is not amazing, but it's honestly better than I was expecting. Then I feel like they really try to set up Robin's, like, arc of this movie, which is him being, like, too impatient and, you know, a bad sidekick. But, like, he doesn't really do anything wrong, but he gets frozen anyway, and Batman turns some water red, and then he thaws out, because that's how water works. Then Mr. Freeze just lets Batman live and leaves for some reason. Then we get introduced to Pamela Isley, who works at one of the most obviously evil-looking laboratories in the world. Like, in the basement, they just have a black market bidding thing where Dr. Woodrue creates one of the most insulting adaptations of a character ever in movies. And that's Bane. Like, Bane is a real character. He is not a tank. And that's all he is in this movie, a weapon. And that really, really annoys me. But yeah, he's just down in the basement now. Then Dr. Woodrue tells Pamela that he used her plant research to make a super weapon. And then he, kills her.
I'm afraid you'll have to die.
So then Batman and Robin watch some video game cutscenes where they find out that Mr. Freeze's wife has McGregor syndrome, and I don't have a clue what that is, and that he needs diamonds to power his suit or something. Then Batman sentences Robin to 10 hours of VR training. Then we get some actual good stuff between Bruce and Alfred. Like, you know, whether it's George Clooney or Val Kilmer or Michael Keaton, this Alfred actor really kills it. I really feel like these two have known each other forever. Then we get introduced to our other villain. Turns out Pamela isn't dead, but she's a plant now.
I'm poison.
She's poisoned now. So basically, she's a plant freak and decides to go after Wayne Enterprises and takes Bane with her. And then this movie turns one of the best and deepest Batman villains into a joke, like it does with most other things. And then we find out that his master plan is to freeze all of Gotham, to then hold the city at ransom until the people, who aren't frozen, give him billions of dollars to save his frozen wife. Yeah. So then instead of building on any of the already established characters, like, we have so much going on in this movie right now. No, they just decide to introduce a new character. So we meet Barbara. Not Barbara Gordon, but Alfred's niece for some reason. And they walk and talk and hold hands like uncle and niece usually do. And I don't have a clue what's going on because now Alfred is looking for his brother, Wilfred Pennyworth, who also turns out to be a butler. This is not real. How is this real? I want to be honest, I don't remember any of this from like when I was a kid. This is all new to me. So then we go to the Gotham Observatory where Wayne Enterprises is donating a telescope for some reason. And we also get to see that he's no longer with Nicole Kidman, you know, the one from the last movie.
Black rubber.
But instead is with random woman I can't remember the name of who has zero character except to stand there and smile. So then Uma Thurman basically threatens Bruce Wayne and the rest of the world by saying plants are gonna take over. But don't worry, Batman and Robin will save them.
In Gotham City, Batman and Robin protect us, even from plants and flowers.
So basically she decides she's going to kill Batman and Robin and then turn the entirety of Gotham green for some reason. Like, not the world, just Gotham. I swear Mr. Freeze had like real potential in this movie. He really did. So then we see a room full of the richest people in Gotham bidding on women.
I'll give 10,000 for the orchid.
Yep, that's a thing. But don't worry, all of these people mean nothing to Batman and Robin because this is all just a trap for Freeze and these people are just random casualties. We're then introduced to Uma Thurman just poison ivying it up. And like, I think she's there to kill Batman and Robin, but I'm not exactly sure. So she's using her unexplained love powers to seduce Batman and Robin. It's awkward. It's just really awkward. Because then like 2 seconds later, a bunch of rich people just start bidding on her.
I bid $50,000 for poison ivy. And I'm in $500,000.
Which does bring up one of the most remembered things about this movie, the Bat credit card.
Never leave the cave without it.
But now Mr. Freeze is here for some reason. So they fight for a little bit, then Mr. Freeze gets the diamonds, which is the one thing they didn't want to happen, and he starts to escape in his freeze tank again. Then we get an okay chase sequence, which is like the thing with this movie. All of the action just kind of feels empty. Like, it's happening, but I don't have any emotions right now. So then Batman doesn't want Robin to try this big jump thing they have to do, so he like uses his parental controls on the Rob cycle. I don't know, and Robin screams. Then Batman stops Mr. Freeze and kills any momentum this movie has going on, like at all. We also get some melodrama between Batman and Robin, where we see the divide between them grow a bit more. And honestly, it's just kind of unearned. Like, it's a decent idea, I suppose, but it doesn't feel like they've earned the right to do that yet in this movie. But what they do give us is another amazing scene between Bruce and Alfred. Everything between these two is just the best of this movie, honestly. We also get a nice little mini flashback, which kind of shows they definitely had an idea going on for this movie, even if it wasn't a great one. So then we also get reintroduced to the neon skeletons from the last movie, which is a weird thing to call back to, but whatever. They're worse this time.
You look good enough to eat.
Anyway, they get absolutely destroyed by Bane, and Poison Ivy turns their hideout into her, like, plant house thing. We also get reintroduced to not Nicole Kidman, and she's just kind of there so Bruce can hallucinate Poison Ivy, and we can just see how much Batman and Robin are both being obsessed with her, which is a weird choice to have for the whole movie, but, you know, it's fine. So then we get some IRL Mario Kart and a little bit of sexism on the side. Because turns out Barbara does illegal motorcycle races. And can I just say, this scene goes on forever. We find out that she got kicked out of college because of the racing, and turns out she only does the racing to save Alfred from being a butler.
I'm gonna take him away from this dismal life of servitude.
So then we go to Arkham Asylum where Poison Ivy and Bane break Mr. Freeze out. Now, I don't quite get why these two would team up when they want the exact opposite things of each other. Like, one wants Gotham to be all plants, and one wants Gotham to not exist anymore and be frozen. But like eventually he plans to thaw it back out. Like he just wants the money. Like he doesn't want to restart. I don't know. So then Batman and Robin face off with Bane for the first time in this movie. And now keep in mind, Bane, this is the guy who broke Batman both emotionally and physically in the comics. And this is how they beat him. So then Batman and Robin argue like 12-year-olds over who Poison Ivy wants to kiss more, and then Robin decides he's gonna go solo, and he doesn't need Batman anymore, and he wants his own Robin signal. Then Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze just escape with Freeze's diamonds, but first Ivy unplugs his wife and blames it on Batman, and that just makes him decide he wants to freeze over the whole world, permanently now, I guess. So his plan didn't really change that much, but, you know. Then we find out that their plan is to freeze everyone and then kill them, and then restart society with plants as
Adam and Evil.
Yeah, that, whatever. Then we find out that Alfred has stage 1 of the McGregor syndrome, which is the disease that Mr. Freeze's wife has. So then Alfred gives Barbara a CD because he thinks he's dying that she was meant to give to his brother. But instead, she just opens it, going completely against all of Alfred's wishes. Then we get another great scene between Bruce and Alfred, and this is like the only time in this movie that I really like George Clooney, because he really gives off the performance of someone who is losing their only father figure, and it's great. Back to Barbara though, who is a terrible character. Eventually she gets the CD open and finds out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. That wasn't for you. Why are you smiling? Quit smiling. You just went against your dying uncle's last wish. What is wrong with you? What is this character? So then Ivy sets up a Robin signal for Robin. So Robin shows up and Ivy's red now for some reason. I don't know. Then she goes to kill Robin with a kiss, but turns out he's got rubber lips and he's not actually stupid because Batman's there and it was a trap the whole time. But they both get tied up really easy. But don't worry because Batgirl shows up. Yeah, Barbara has a suit now and she's a trained superhero. Somehow. And then Batgirl and Poison Ivy have one of the worst fights ever. And for some reason her plant just randomly decides to eat her. I don't know why. It makes no sense. I'm honestly really lost at this point. But now they go to stop Mr. Freeze from turning Gotham to ice. But first, they have to randomly change costumes and get custom ice-equipped vehicles because this is a 90s Batman movie, baby. At least in Batman Forever, they had an excuse for Batman to get a new suit. And in this one, they just don't bring it up at all. Like, they just get new suits. It's never mentioned. So they go to the observatory and they plan to use, like, mirrors and satellites to thaw out Gotham, which is slightly frozen now. Overcomplicated for no reason. Like, just don't let him get this far. If you don't have a good solution, don't let him freeze the thing. You write the story. You get to decide what happens. Then Mr. Freeze shows up and they both take turns slapping each other. Also, Robin and Batgirl pretty much kill Bane effortlessly. Then they use the sun to thaw Gotham City, I guess. But uh-oh, Mr. Freeze has bombs. But don't worry, he's Batman, so it just doesn't matter whatsoever. Except now they can't thaw the city, but they actually can. And we also get a little bit more sexism.
Men.
Pretty good at this, little girl.
Watch and learn, little boy.
Then they save the day, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. They run off into the sunset again, and it ends. Alright, it's actually over this time. No sequels, it's done, we're done. It's over. So in conclusion, is Batman and Robin that bad? Yeah, kind of. Usually with bad movies, I can still have like fun with them, but this movie isn't fun really at all. All of the action feels empty and there's no real characters to root for because everyone's the same at the beginning of the movie as they are at the end, and that's just bad storytelling. From what I can tell, there isn't a Schumacher cut of this one, but it does seem like there was a lot of studio meddling, which is a shame, but I mean, it's still a bad movie. Like, I genuinely think I could make a better sequel to Batman Forever than this. I think most people could. But if you guys do want that, maybe in the future I could do a rewrite style pitch for what I would do with a Batman Forever sequel. Just a suggestion, but let me know in the comments below what you guys think. But I think the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie is like a 12%, which might be a little low. There are some good stuff here. Most of it's bad. But if I was to give it a score of my own, I'd probably say something like probably a 21%. A really, really bad movie with some good stuff sprinkled in and also some decent action here and there. If you do like this movie, that is great. I would really love to hear your defenses for it in the comments below, and I'll respond, and you know, we can have a nice conversation. And yeah, that's about it. So bye.